Yeah, I hear ya.
No, you listen. You guys locked me out on the patio, and I politely tapped on the window.
Whoa, time out. With your gun.
Debatable.
The weekly hangover. This'll probably hurt, but you'll be thirsty for more.
You guys, it has been a wonderful week. It was a wonderful weekend. I've got so much to tell to you guys. I got my buddy Braden back on the phone. Everyone remembers Braden. He's been on here a couple of times. Braden, what's up, man?
How are you doing?
Dude, I'm good. You want to talk about the weather?
Actually, it's raining like a mofo here, and I mean dumping, so we could talk about the weather, but I mean, I'm pretty sure you've experienced rain before, so that's what we got right now.
Well, yeah, we have experienced it once or twice before. It's supposed to snow here between 1 and 5 inches tomorrow for us.
Is 5 inches a lot in one night? I mean, I feel like that's not a lot compared to some places, but I feel like that could have an impact, no?
No, it definitely has an impact. Like, our whole town, like, shuts down, it seems. Yeah, it's going to be nuts, but I still got to go to work, so I don't care.
Yeah, I remember one time when we went to Boston, I took a trip to Boston like 2 years ago, and I remember that around the town there's fire extinguishers everywhere, and attached to these fire extinguishers are these giant, long, like red and white poles. And I asked a local what those poles were, and they told me they're there so that they can find the fire hydrants in the snow. And I mean, these poles had to be sticking up probably 5 or 6 feet into the air on top of the fire hydrant. And so it was right then and there that I decided I will never live in Boston, at least in the wintertime.
Like, Richmond is nothing like that. Like, sometimes it'll snow, almost close to a foot, but no, nothing like Boston, nowhere like in the Northeast.
Yeah, and it's incredibly cold on top of that. I mean, snow is cold anyways, but then you're talking just ridiculously low temperature. It just sounds miserable. And then you go to a place like New York City where if it snows, like, I've been there in the summertime and it's great. I could not imagine going there when it's snowing. It just seems like it would be incredibly hectic and difficult to do anything. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. So I'm hoping it doesn't snow here.
Well, that's good. Thanks for the weather update, dude.
Yep.
Dude, so this weekend, I had a very exciting weekend. Let me tell you about it from start to finish. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, dude. So I actually, as you know, and other people may know, I just got a new car, by the way. So I just started Ubering, which it's actually been very lucrative so far. I've done very well. But that was just the beginning to my weekend. St. Patrick's Day was normal, normal fun stuff. Hung out with some friends, had a beer or two. Nothing crazy. Actually, how was your St. Patty's Day?
I was in Arizona. So I went out to Phoenix to support. My company sent me out there to do a move. We had a new office opening right next to our existing office space. So I was sent out there to provide extra hands and help manage the crew. So I had really good weather down there. It was really nice. I caught a spring training game while I was down there for the Giants, which is something I recommend for any baseball fan. Scottsdale in general, the Phoenix area is a pretty nice area right now. I don't think I'd want to be there in the summer when it's 125 degrees and planes can't land, but spending St. Patrick's Day there, I didn't do too much into the festivities. I was pretty burnt, and I had an early morning flight on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So other than that, it was pretty good. I've never been to Phoenix for St. Patrick's Day, so I can't say that anymore.
Yeah, dude, my St. Patty's Day wasn't too crazy. I did see a fight. Well, it was kind of a scuffle. There's only about 3 punches thrown. Nothing crazy. And then this Sunday, ask me what I did on my Sunday. Go ahead, ask.
What did you do this Sunday?
Dude, I'm glad you asked. So when I had my very first live show for this podcast, I was reached out to by this promotion company. For people that don't know, I was reached out to and they said, "Hey, we found you on SoundCloud. What's up? We want to know if you want to do a show." And I'm like, "Well, all I do is a podcast. It's just audio." And they're like, "Well, you could do it live on stage. Let us know." And I was like, "Well, I do have some funny stories that I would like to share." They told me this about a month ago or a month or two ago, and they set it up. Flyers were sent out, tickets were sold, and Sunday, I got to the event, checked in. I was nervous a little bit, but I was like nervous of excitement. I was very excited to be there with, some friends and coworkers, and just to share what I want to talk about, stories that you and I have lived through, stories that have just molded me to the person I am today, dude. It was so much fun. There's this guy before us. I forget we said he was a band, but his act name was Left to Die, and he kind of looked like punk rock, but he was actually like rapping, and he was, playing guitar and piano, and it wasn't hard to follow his act. Like, he tried real hard, but dude, it was pretty atrocious. No, he tried his best.
So did he warm up the crowd for you in a sense of, did he take the pressure off of you because he was not as good, or did he get the crowd riled up in terms of, now they're out for blood? Because it can turn hostile when you have an act that nobody likes and you have to follow that act. So they're either in a mood to heckle, or they can be flipped. What would you say the atmosphere was like? How many people did you have there?
I don't know. I had probably I only had 30 coworkers or so that bought tickets. Honestly, there wasn't too many people. It was a Sunday at 6:30, 7, or whenever I went on, but I don't know, less than 200, I would say.
I feel like you're underestimating that crowd size. I mean, that's after a major holiday, right? Everybody went out drinking on Saturday. And I can tell you, I've never had to get up in front of 200 people and say anything. So don't sell yourself short there, man.
No, dude, it was definitely a great experience. But the guy that was right before me, it was a pretty rough show. He was trying to get the crowd to sing in on it, and we just had no idea what he was talking about or what he was singing about. But I guess you got to start somewhere,
That's a guy you're going to hear about in 5 years, and you're going to be like, oh, I remember when. Tosh Point oh came to Chico one time, and this was before he had the show and before he got famous, and I think 5 or 6 people went to his show. Oh. And nobody paid attention when he came through, and now his tickets go for $250 for nosebleeds, I'm not sure if he's still quite as relevant, but just to know that, you do have to start somewhere, and your product, not everybody will understand it right away, but if you just keep at it, you'll perfect it, and, hopefully it gets better.
So when I got up on stage, I had a bunch of friends that were cheering and yelling and screaming and coworkers, so I definitely had a lot of support. So it was just a blank stage. I thought I was gonna have a stand up there, almost not a podium, but just a stand where I brought a little note sheet up there. Didn't have anything, so the DJ or whoever gave me a microphone, and he told me, he's like, hey, when the other guy gets off, you're going to go up there, and whenever the music stops, that's when you can start. And I was like, all right, right on. So I went up there, and there was, it was a completely blank stage, so I grabbed a chair, out of the crowd, and I just pulled it up with me on stage. I was like, yo, what's up, everybody? So it started off strong. I felt that it was a lot of fun.
So what was your preparation like backstage? Obviously, I think I would be more nervous if I had to perform in front of family and friends that I have to see again on Monday, as compared to people that I'm never going to see again. So kind of what was going on in your mind backstage in terms of just prepping yourself, trying to get the jitters out, getting your material in line? I don't know how many times you practiced your material. So what was that like for you?
Well, it wasn't about just practicing the material. A lot of the stories were from years ago, so I wanted the stories to be fresh in my head, and I had a lineup, the ones actually I showed you a photo of. I had a lineup written out. I just wanted it to flow in from one story to another, and there was a time where I legitimately just forgot what I was talking about, but just pressed on, and I don't think anyone noticed, but yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking, but it was really exciting. And then I was sitting on this chair, and it was great, and I'm telling the stories, and then I get up and I'm telling another story, and then I jumped off stage, and I was really feeling good at that time, dude. It was so much fun.
Did you get applause, or were you met with crickets on most of your jokes?
No, dude, definitely some applause.
Or your stories.
So my friends were definitely cheering and supporting like they were supposed to. But the people that were not my friends or coworkers, they were there to see like hip hop groups, because the guy that before me, I don't know what you classify his music as, but there was people after us that were rapping and doing a show. So I definitely think they were expecting music. But when I got up there and after I gave an intro, I was like, by the way, I'm not a comedian. I'm just going to tell you some funny, crazy stories. And man, there were some. You remember the story about when your dad about the dog? We're gonna try to put your dog down.
You told the dog story.
Yeah, of course I did. People were like, some coworkers, they were like almost shocked but I was like, no, I didn't kill this dog. It definitely I thought it left a good impression on people's minds. I thought it was funny.
So you think people think you're a better person after that story, or? Because I was there and I remember the discussion. It's funny because without being there, it's hard to really provide the context of the situation. We were really just trying to do the dog a favor.
Yeah, dude.
That dog was having a rough life.
That dog needed to die, dude. That dog was tired. It needed a freaking dog nap and go to the farm, you know?
I totally concur. That dog had seen many better days, and I commend my dad for trying to give it a good home, but the reality is it was just, if I was in that condition as a person, I would say, let's go ahead and wrap this up. It's just funny. So I could just imagine the shock value of a room that would, taking over a room that story would. But it does have a comedic element to it, and I thought the way we went about it was funny.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I think the whole crowd was, there are some times where people or people that weren't my friends or whatever, they're just almost kind of seemed like they're just ready for some music. And I'm not going to lie, but there was... I don't think there was any crickets by any means. My friends and people that support, they said they had a great time, so I thought it was good.
So is this something you want to do again, or was this a bucket list type deal?
Well, it was a goal that I wanted to do. I saw some people that have big podcasts start, going up on stage and doing comedy sets, and I was like, I'm not a comedian, but I do it sounds crazy, but I do like telling stories and have not the attention be on me, but I want people to listen to what I'm gonna say. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this guy that I work with, he was telling me, he's like, dude, there's people. He actually came to the show. He was telling me that he's like, they have story slams, or I forget exactly what they call it, but it's where people can pretty much go onto an open mic and just tell funny stories. And I was like, man, that sounds such a good idea. And he's like, yeah, some companies, they call it poetry slam or something slam, where you can get up and pretty much they'll give you the open mic to do whatever you want. And there's a place here in Richmond, Virginia that does it every Saturday for 2 hours. So I definitely think I'm going to try to do it again, but it was cool this time because I got paid for it. So I think just next time whenever I do it again, I think I'll just try to, do it on a different level. Maybe they'll be more receptive to it because they want to be entertained for comedic purpose. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I would think that if you go into it, that sounds, as a fan, that would be kind of a hard venue to go into with any expectations, right? If I go see a comedian, then I understand I'm there to laugh. So to have a mix of some crappy one-man show / musician / whatever that guy's doing, and then a comedic element coming right behind that, that's kind of a mood changer, right? So yeah. As a fan, it can be, but also maybe their agenda is just you don't know what you're going to get, and that's half the fun and the mystery. There's the entertainment even in a crappy act, right? There's still part of the human element that wants to see people struggle and fail, and which is sad, but it's true. And so, personally, I would think that that's entertainment no matter what. I would feel bad for a person that's up there bombing. Obviously, it takes a lot of courage just to get up there in the first place, but it would be hard to have expectations buying that ticket of what I'm really getting into.
Absolutely. Someone's got to start the show and someone's got to end the show, and I might as well get up and tell some funny stories that I want to share,
Right. Was this videotaped? So you can go back and watch and see what was good or, to refine it for the next time? Does this live somewhere digitally?
No, it doesn't. It just lives in my heart. That's all.
So it's an exclusive deal. You had to be there.
Yeah, well, so there was people that had a photographer out there for their own act, but the promoter, they said, yeah, no one is going to be able to record it. And I even reached out to the actual club manager, and she said that they did not record it. She's like, "Yeah, we'll let you know if anyone has footage or whatever." So no.
Well, I imagine that's how you get people in the door as well. If you're just going to stream it for everybody to watch, there's no incentive for them to come to the place, right? So
yeah,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
No, I wanted to get the audio for it, and then I was going to try to put that on an episode, but that didn't work out. But maybe the next one, it'll probably be a smaller show or just for what I was talking about, like the slam or get up on stage. I don't know. I forget what it's called. It's called Richmond Slam, but yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm proud of you, bro. That's something cool, and I'm glad you were able to put that together for yourself. You marketed the crap out of it, so it's good, man. And look, I'd love to be out there for one. We'll see if we can't work that out.
Dude, that would be so cool. But yeah, other than that, dude, my weekend it was a pretty solid weekend overall, a solid A+. After that, a bunch of friends, we went out and got some food and drinks and just hung out. So it was a solid end to the weekend, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than that, man, besides going out to Arizona, what happened with you? Anything crazy?
No, just that. So a nice little break from the day-to-day life of work. Good to always see I'm constantly contemplating an exit strategy to the Bay Area. And so when I get to go to these places, I'm always a little more perked up with my interest in looking around and taking things into account as potential landing spots.
Sure.
I really struggle with the idea of the summer times in Phoenix, but other than that, 9 months out of the year, it looks like a great place to live. They're a little more right-wing out there than I would probably like in terms of, I would say, just kind of the good old boys network, if you will. But other than that, I mean, Scottsdale, again, it's a great mix of college town and senior citizens and a good mashup in between. I think the neighborhoods are catching up. It's still relatively cheap, probably because it's undiscovered or people just don't want to deal with the summertime.
Yeah.
So opportunities are there. It's just a matter of if it all works out. And there's a couple other spots on my radar, but a lot of these places are becoming the next big San Francisco, if you will, or it's really just trading one rat race for another. The East Coast has started to creep into my mind a little bit, but I'm not sure I could sell the other half on that. But it is just looking ahead to the future. Where do we want to be, 5-10 years from now? Maybe we're still here. You never know what could be presented, but just trying to think, if I was going to go, where would we go, that type of stuff. And then, obviously talking to Alana and getting her opinion.
Dude, that'd be cool, man. I always like changing it up, moving where I was going. I moved around a bunch, as you know, Northern California, Southern California, a couple places here in Virginia, North Carolina. So I do like to move around, but dude, I love Virginia, man. Virginia's home, man. I couldn't see myself currently living anywhere else. Like, I love Virginia, man.
Virginia's cool. I tell people all the time when I go out there that I often get the vibe that you can see the guys in their red and blue jackets running around with muskets. If you catch it at the right time at a sunset, you can see these little guys creeping through the woods and doing their battle thing. You can just feel the historical aspects of it the minute you step off a plane. I like that everybody gets around by Amtrak train. It's just very efficient on the East Coast. Seems like they're advanced when it comes to just the way that everybody does things. It's a little less of a rat race, obviously, with California. We're overpopulated and people are condensed into, 2 or 3 major areas between Los Angeles and San Francisco. So it's just very chaotic to get around. And something about the East Coast, people are more business oriented. They say what they mean. Everybody's just trying to get shit done. I'll go. I like the East Coast. I'd like to go see the Carolinas, anywhere pretty much except Florida. I'll cross Florida off the list right now. I have no desire to go to Florida for any purpose or reason. I'm sorry if you have any listeners in Florida, but that's their own fault. And yeah, if you choose to live there, that's on you. Maybe Miami gets a pass. I'd like to do a food tour in Miami, but other than that, I think 2 days there I'd be fine. And then going further up east, I don't think I'd want to go to the Northeast. So yeah, I'd have to be somewhere in the Mid-East, if you will. Sure. But we'll see. We'll see where the jobs are at, where the money's at, where the markets are at, where housing's affordable, where hunter's at. There's a lot of things that you got to factor in. So.
Yeah, well, dude, you're always welcome on the East Coast, dude. My people welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, now that we got that crap out of the way, dude, April 7th is the next big fight you and I and the world gets to see. There's other fights that are along the way, but the next big fight is April 7th, UFC 223. Big card, absolutely stacked. Like, I have 3, 6, 9, like 11 fights that I want to see. Like, some bigger names, some small names, dude. I'm very excited for it, dude. So, do you want to run through the list, or what do you want to do this?
Yeah, do you want to go top to bottom, or do you want to go bottom to top?
Let's start with the least favorite fights that I want to watch. So the one that I have at the bottom is Alex Caceres and Artem Lobov.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. So if anyone doesn't know Alex Caceres, I call him
Bruce Leroy?
Yeah, Bruce Leroy. Yeah, and then Artem Lobov, he is probably known for Conor McGregor's training partner, right?
Yep.
So who do you got on that one, man?
I'm going to go ahead and go with Bruce Leroy. If you look at their records, they actually match up pretty well in that respect. I haven't been thoroughly impressed by Artem. I think that, a lot of people will allude to his toughness and the fact that he can take a beating. I know Seeley put a hurting on him
Yeah.
recently and did some work, and I'm first team all Seeley. So I just think that he's likely on the tail end of his deal, and he's obviously benefited from Conor McGregor. He's one of the carryovers from the Nate Diaz fight. But at 14-14, there's no other platform. There's just no other way this guy's in the UFC.
Yeah.
But they do have Bruce Leroy, who's got the crazy hair. He's got a good brand. He's got an exciting fight style. He does show up to bring it. Good solid ground game from Bruce Leroy. So it'll be interesting to see. I got to take Bruce in that fight just based on activity. I have a feeling it'll go to decision. Neither one of these guys are known for finishing guys.
Yeah.
Height, reach, everything's the same there. One of those, it's a pick'em fight. It's really a pick'em fight. I think it's evenly matched. It's a good match by the UFC, but I really think this is to just get their contracts off the books so they can move on. Loser goes home, winner potentially has another shot.
Yeah. I'm not super big on it. I mean, they're pretty decent sized names, so I'm obviously going to watch it. It'll be exciting to watch, but really couldn't care who wins or loses. If I had to pick, I would say Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy. I'd definitely say he's going to win a decision because I think it will go to a decision. I don't think anyone's getting knocked out there,
Yeah, 100%.
For sure. And then the fight after that I want to watch is Evan Dunham, and I forget the guy's first name, but his last name is Aubin Mercier. Do you know him?
Olivier
Aubin Mercier. That's correct, dude. So I'm a big fan of Evan
French.
Dunham.
He is French. He's French-Canadian.
Yeah, he's one of them Canadians. I'm big on Evan Dunham. Do you remember when he fought Sean the Muscle Shark Shirt?
That would have been so long ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember that fight specifically, just being honest, but I can tell you that Sean Shirk hasn't fought in the UFC for quite some time. So, but I have seen Evan Dunham fight a number of times. I'm thoroughly impressed by that guy.
Yeah, so him and then Aubin Mercier, I think that'll be an exciting fight. I'm going to say Evan Dunham just because, I'm a bigger fan. I don't know more about the other guy, so picking favorites.
I believe Mercier, he's a training partner to GSP. I think he's one of his other understudies in there with Rory and that camp.
Yeah.
So he's for sure going to come in pretty tough. I also think he's got momentum on his side. He's obviously got youth. I think Evan Dunham brings the experience advantage by far. I think that he also brings that toughness. You're not going to just go in there and take Evan Dunham out with – he's seen everything. The guy, for only having 25 fights that are on the books, sure, he's seen a lot more things than that. But, this guy's not going to be surprised by anything you're bringing in, and he's going to be tough to take out. But I do believe that Mercier is going to come in and get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super big on that fight. I'm a bigger fan of Evan Dunham, but I'm going with him. You're going with Aubin Mercier. That'll be a cool fight still to watch. Right after that, I don't know who Joe Lozon is fighting, but anytime Joe Lozon fights, dude, I love watching a fight. His ground game is slick. He never gives up. He's always... Not always, because he has a bunch of bloody wars. I love watching the guy fight.
Joe Lozon has my all-time favorite submission in the UFC. It was the transitional triangle that he hit. I forget who the opponent was. I want to say Jim Miller, but I'd have to fact check that. But he was in the process of taking somebody's back and actually reverse course and threw up just the slickest triangle I've ever seen in my life. And I've tried it so many times to only get stuffed and put on my back and then brutally taken over. But Joe Lozon, yeah, I love his story. I follow him on social media, story about his kid and how involved he is. I just think that Joe Lozon, to me, is a good fighter for young fighters to watch. This guy's never held a championship belt, but he's never lacked for exciting. He's never been out of a job. There's never been a Joe Lozon fight where I was like, I don't want to watch that. Like, I want to watch this guy fight every single time he steps in there. Sure. I think he's competed against some of the guys at the highest level. He's been doing it forever. This is a guy that I root for as a human more than a fight. Like Joe Lozon's like top 5. If I had a poker table fighters that I would like to play for a night with, Joe Lozon would be at that table. Like, this guy's just the all American guy. You know what I'm saying? He's an alpha. He's an alpha.
Yeah, dude, he's a technically sound fighter. I love watching him fight. His transitions are slick. I think he's a very talented individual.
He's got everything. He's tough as shit. He can bleed forever. He can fight through pain. He's never going to quit on you. And he can submit you at any time.
Yeah.
Literally at any time. He can submit you, and from any position. Put him on his back, he's fine. Put him on top, he knows what he's doing. This guy's he's a wizard. He's a wizard. I would pay a decent amount of money to train with that guy for a day. 100%.
The next fight that I have written down, I'm not super big on it, but I do like Felice Herrig and Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
Yep.
Oh, dude, she's such a cutie.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those fights that the UFC could market in a different direction, but
Sure.
for us that are fans, obviously we know both these girls are bad, and they could probably both kick both of our asses.
Yeah.
At the same time.
For sure.
So thoroughly impressed. I'm going to go with Carolina in this fight. I love that calm demeanor. I love the way she is just resting with her hands behind her back as she's being introduced before fights. I think Felice is hit or miss. I think that she's one of the smartest fighters in the game when it comes to marketing herself and her brand. But I think if I was to go skill for skill, technicality to technicality, I think Carolina, with just the experience that she has, I just think that she's going to have what it takes. I think she actually lights up Felice. I think she beats her by TKO.
Dang, that's a tough call, man, because I've seen a lot more Felice Herrig's fights than Karolina Kowalkiewicz, but the most memorable fight I have for Carolina is when she fought Joanna. That wasn't even a competition, dude. I mean, Joanna's a different breed in her own. We'll talk about her later. I'm going to go with Felice Herrig on that one. I'd say that she's been in the game a lot longer, so I'm going to go with her,
No, I think Carolina, coming off of that type of experience, once you've been in there with the best, she also fought Claudia Gadelha and lost. So I think that those two losses probably did more for her career. She does hold a win over Rose Namajunas.
Yeah.
Heather Clark, she's got some decent, credible victories. So I think coming off of those two losses, she does have a win in between there. She hasn't fought since October. But I think that she learned probably more than – those are the only two losses on her record, and those are top 3, 4, 5 fighters in the world. Obviously, Joanna was unstoppable there for a minute.
Yeah.
But I just think Carolina Felice, again, is hit or miss. We'll see. That's why they fight. To say Felice Herrig isn't capable of winning this fight, that'd be a lie.
For sure. It'll be exciting to watch. They're both cuties. I'll watch it, for sure.
And then there's that. Right?
And there's that. So the next 4 fights that I have, I'm very ecstatic for. All right. I've been a big fan within the past year, maybe year and a half, of Al Iaquinta, right?
Yes.
Probably just for the past year and a half, dude. I like how much trash he's talking. I like how he fights. He's fighting Paul Felder, dude. That's going to be a heck of a fight. I hope so, man.
I think that that's a bad fight to come back to. That's not to take away from Iaquinta. I think that that's a bad man right there. Comes from a good, solid champ. But I just feel like that's I understand what he's trying to do. That's the best fight to make a name right now.
Sure.
But Paul Felder's, I think, just in a class by himself. I don't think there's not a lot of people with as much momentum behind him as Paul Felder has right now. And also got to meet Paul Felder at Benito's UFC debut, and that was cool. We were the same size. That was crazy. And it's been almost a year. And just looking at, Al Iaquinta, again, has beat some solid people. His most recent victory is Diego Sanchez. So take with that what you will. I think Paul Felder's got the momentum behind him. That's going to be a crazy fight.
Yeah. That's
going to be a ground and pound fest. I don't see a lot of stand-up exchanges in that fight, but I do think we're going to see one of the more technical ground beatings of the card, for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with Paul Felder on that one. Even though I do love watching Al Iaquinta fight, I definitely say that Paul is just a more seasoned veteran. And I love watching him talk, dude, especially on the UFC breakdowns, dude. He's a very knowledgeable individual.
Well, and I think that helps, right? His ability to break down a fight. Imagine he's breaking down these fights and giving the fans detailed points about what's happening, and he's doing this in live and in person as it's happening. So I could only imagine what that guy's film sessions are like, right? Like if him and his team are talking about Iaquinta and they're watching his film and they're going through his game plan, I can only imagine how much they're able to study and pick apart everything. I think they're going to come in with a solid game plan. And I know Iaquinta has some weird training methods. He does this light training that I've seen on some of the UFC Unleashed, and he does these reaction time training. So it's really interesting to see some of the methods that these guys are incorporating at the highest levels to prepare themselves. But I just think also Paul Felder has a certain toughness, and I think there's no pressure on Paul Felder. I think all the pressure is on Iaquinta. Like you said, he's been talking a lot of trash about his employer and the division, and I could go better and I can do all this, and I don't need to fight for money. And that's great. I'm glad he's put himself in a position where fighting can be secondary. But I also think you put yourself in a position where you need to perform, and you need to perform very well because you're under a microscope at this point.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think Paul Felder has the luxury of just coming in and being Paul Felder and doing what he does, and it's up to Iaquinta to put that all out of his mind. I'm sure he can, but that'll be an interesting thing to factor into the fight.
I'm also excited to see where it goes to on the ground because for the people that don't know, Al Iaquinta trains with Matt Serra, one of the first white American black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if I'm correct, right?
You are. Also on that list, Ed O'Neill.
I don't know Ed O'Neill, honestly.
The Married with Children guy.
Really?
He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He was one of the first under the Gracies in Los Angeles.
That's surprising.
It's pretty crazy. So while he was shooting Married with Children, he was also learning how to kick your ass.
That's still pretty cool, dude. But Al Iaquinta, he comes from a good camp, training with Matt Serra all the time. That's a heck of a camp. So I think that'll be a solid fight. Still going with Paul Felder, though.
I got to go with Paul Felder.
Yeah. And then the next fight, I'm still pretty excited about. I'm not big. I mean, Michael Chiesa, I think he's a talented individual. He's fighting Anthony Pettis. Anthony Pettis is a former champion. He's fought in multiple weight divisions. I like watching them both fight. I would definitely say that Anthony Pettis' brand has faded a lot. Still going to watch it. Still going to be a slugfest. I like that Michael Chiesa, I like his background. I like that when he came on The Ultimate Fighter, he shared a story of how he overdosed on drugs and then turned his life around and, turned into the blossoming flower he is today. You know what I mean?
Well, and I feel like he lost one of his parents. I don't know if it was his mom or his dad during the season. And so he was one of the few fighters that was allowed to go back into the outside world.
That's right.
I think it was his dad. And then he went to his dad's funeral, and the day later he's back, and 2 days later he's fighting for his future and for his life in The Ultimate Fighter. So, this is a guy who probably doesn't have a lot of worries in life. I think he thoroughly enjoys just being a part of the sport. Anthony Pettis, man, that's one of the more fascinating stories in sports, to go from a Wheaties box champion and a highlight reel kick that will live in infamy for the next 1,000 years.
For sure.
It's one of those, it's crazy. But then you look at who Pettis has fought. I mean, this guy's fought Murderer's Row for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, he's fought everybody.
Yeah, he's fought everybody. He hasn't turned anybody away. He also said, hey, I'm going to fight Clay Guida because I don't want to wait around for a title shot when he came over to the UFC, right, and lost. Mm-hmm. And Clay Guida came in and derailed that hype train, and then what did he do? He bounced back. An unsuccessful venture to 45, which I think a lot of fighters, when they're going through a streak, that they feel like that's the natural option, is to just drop weight, and that didn't work out for him. He's back in his natural weight class of 155 pounds. To say that the guy never shows up in fights is absolutely ridiculous. I think Anthony Pettis is one of the still most exciting guys. I think he's great for taking risks and kind of laying it out there and seeing what happens, but I think Chiesa has the ground advantage by far.
Yeah.
And so I think as long as this fight stays standing, I'll take Pettis all day. I think that if Chiesa gets a hold of him and can get this thing to the ground, then I think Chiesa submits him with a rear naked choke. Round 2, call it.
Yeah, that's a tough pick for me. I think if it stands up, like you said, I'm gonna go with Anthony Pettis. But if it goes to the ground, I'm gonna go with Michael Chiesa. So that's a tough call. But I think it'll go to the ground. I think the first round, obviously is gonna be standing up, trading back and forth. But I think towards the end of the first round, someone's going to take a shot, most likely Michael Chiesa, and hopefully submit him in the second. I think it'll be a good match. I'm not big on both of them, but it's still definitely exciting to watch,
Yeah, I don't see Pettis trying to take this thing to the ground, so I think that'll be interesting is if he can stay to the outside and keep Chiesa at a distance. And I think he knows that he can't let him get inside because if he puts him on the cage, a number of things can happen. So, crazy fight, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts.
It's a good fight.
But the next 2 fights, so I just get so freaking happy thinking about it. It's so crazy, dude. When Thug Rose Namajunas, and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, when they fought before, dude, Joanna was on the top of the world, man. Dude, she didn't have an end in sight. And then she got blasted and she got put out, dude. That was so freaking nuts. I was screaming. I was like, because I didn't think Joanna was gonna lose. I didn't think she was gonna lose for her whole career. And then she got blasted and put out, dude. That was crazy.
It was the beauty of the sport and why you have to watch. There's no such thing as a safe assumption, and even in all the fights that we've talked about, these things could go out and be over in 5 seconds with one punch.
Sure.
At this level. And so I think that was the best thing that could have happened for the sport. I've been following Rose forever when she had hair.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people remember when she had hair, and she was going to fight Paige, and they tried to market it as a beauty versus beauty, and she shaved her head, right? This isn't a beauty contest, it's a fight.
Yeah.
And I think that she had a lot of fans at that point, and I think Rose is going to do it again. And if I'm Joanna, I come out, I don't change a thing. I think if you change your routine and the way you conduct yourself, I think that you've shown that Rose has gotten inside your head.
Yeah.
But I think that Rose mentally, I listened to her podcast with Joe Rogan, and I think that she's just on another level mentally. The way she approaches fights, the way she approaches camps, her approach to her weight cut, just everything that she does around a fight is so thoughtful and analytical, and it's incredibly intense to learn how much preparation mentally she does to deal with a Joanna who's largely gotten by in her career on just intimidating the shit out of her opponents. And she scares me just watching her on TV. Like, I don't know what I would do if somebody dropped 10 inches and then started trying to look me straight in the eye with some weird, crazy face. And she also speaks really broken English, which for some reason is even more intimidating, right? I just think that I think Rose does it again. And I think Rose, I don't think it'll be as quick. I think Joanna's not going to come in underestimating. I think she'll have a much smarter approach. I think she'll be much more calculated. But I think that Rose ends up taking over in round 3, maybe TKOs her in round 4. I think the result is the same, and I think Rose is going to be the champ for quite a while.
Dude, maybe I'm still on Joanna's train. Maybe I haven't got off, dude. And I love Rose Namajunas. I still think she's freaking cutie, even though she doesn't have hair. Like, but I don't know, dude. Something about Joanna, dude. I think she as a person is meant to be champion, dude. She is a freaking grinder. She hits hard. She goes in there to kill you. She doesn't let up. She got blasted. So I'm not saying that she fell off the train and she's never going to be champion again. I'm still going with Joanna, man. That's going to be an exciting fight, dude.
It will be. I mean, it's crazy that could be its own main event.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is a main event fight. I think it has enough interest. The world is going to be watching. Another great thing for women's MMA. This is if the card ended right here, I'm totally a happy customer with my purchase. I do believe in purchasing the fights from time to time so I can support the fighters.
Sure.
Even though the UFC makes the bulk of the money. I'm totally fine if the card ended right here, but lucky for us, the card does not end here.
Dude, I'm so glad it doesn't end here because literally, all right, I think one of the greatest wrestlers, one of the greatest ground and pound monstrous killers is going to be fighting that weekend. So I already know who I'm going for, and I kind of feel like I know who you're going for, but the main event is Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. I'm so head over heels excited for this. They were originally supposed to fight, let's see what Khabib got. He said he got hurt or he was overweight and he ended up in the hospital. This is the second time that they're actually trying to make this fight. I'm going with Khabib, man. Khabib, man, all the way, dude. 100%. I mean, Tony Ferguson is no slouch, but hear me out. Here's my MMA math that never works, but this is my reasoning. All right, Tony, you and I have talked about this before, but Tony Ferguson had trouble with Kevin Lee. Yes, he submitted Kevin Lee, but he had trouble with him in the beginning. One thing that you brought up, I believe it was you, that Tony Ferguson is an overall athlete, way better than Khabib. Very true, but I think Khabib's going to beat the piss out of him. I think that they're going to go to the ground a couple times, get back up, but I think it's going to end with Khabib on top. That's my pick, man. That's what I'm going with.
I think that, he has to. Khabib has no choice in this fight but to take him to the ground. If he tries to stand with Tony Ferguson, it's going to end quickly and it's going to end violently. I think that Michael Johnson exposed not only Khabib's not so great stand-up, and I'm saying this without having ever sparred the dude, but from what I've seen compared to some of the highest level strikers in his division, let alone the sport, his stand-up is terrible. He's very robot-like. He's flat-footed. He has no foot movement. He's not active in there, right? He's constantly thinking about the takedown. And so when you look past the stand-up, I think the longer he stays on his feet, the worse it's going to be for him. And then I think if he takes a couple punches from Tony Ferguson, assuming he survives said punches, I think he tries to get him down. But I also looking at the 155 division, I don't think there's many guys that can fight off their back the way Tony Ferguson does. I think that Tony Ferguson is, again, just the most athletic. He's going to be big. I just think Tony Ferguson presents so many problems in so many areas where Khabib is used to dominating. I don't see Khabib doing what he's done to everybody else. And granted, I say this off of just who is it? He just gave a one-sided beatdown to. Was it Edson Barboza?
Yeah.
That was a beating like you've never seen. But he couldn't finish the fight. Whether he didn't want to or he was just trying to spare Edson, I'm not entirely sure. I know Khabib likes to talk to his opponents. I feel like he was apologizing to Michael Johnson when he was kicking the shit out of him.
No, did you hear what he said to him?
He would say, I must fight for the title. I apologize. You must go through. He was basically apologizing to him for the beating he was laying on him, but he wasn't even focused on the fight at that point. It was almost like it was muscle memory for him. So, and that's a scary thing to think. If I'm Tony Ferguson, you have to be aware of that. Also, Kevin Lee, I think, is one of the more massive 155ers in the division. And even though he had a staph infection, he was probably put into that fight a little sooner. And styles make fights. I think that we get caught up in where these guys are at sometimes, and everybody's style presents unique challenges. If I remember right, that fight was made on somewhat short notice, and you're noticing at the highest levels that game plans are everything. I thought Kevin Lee did great to come in and do what he did and expose some things about Tony Ferguson, but there's just not a lot of parts of me that think that Khabib is going to control this fight the way that the world thinks that he is. And I'm saying that off of every performance he's ever had. He's left no doubt. He is the UFC's Ben Askren. Maybe Ben Askren is the fight for him to make. That would be that to me would be a more entertaining fight. I hate to say it, but now that I think about it, saying it out loud, because those are two of the greatest ground fighters in the world, right? I hope Khabib doesn't get caught up in trying to prove a point that he can stand and bang, because he will lose. He will end up asleep.
Yeah, but you remember when Khabib fought Rafael dos Anjos, a very effective striker? He beat the mess out of him. But that's also a perfect body frame for somebody like Khabib. Dos Anjos is, while a massive, at the time, 55er, he's still short. He's compact. His arms aren't very long. His speed is not crazy. He hits with a lot of power, and he hits with a lot of ferocity. He's coming at you with violent intentions, but I think ultimately he plays right into Khabib's style. And also, I've always said, and I'm a jiu-jitsu proponent, I love jiu-jitsu, I think that good wrestling will stifle great jiu-jitsu. And so it's interesting, again, saying that with, Tony Ferguson's background. He's obviously a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt under Eddie Bravo, so he's going to be no slouch on the ground. Mm-hmm. But I think that where Tony Ferguson can separate himself in this fight is his ability to scramble. And it's going to be about his ability to get up once Khabib gets a takedown. Because Khabib will get a takedown at some point in this fight. Yeah. I
think it's just going to be about Tony Ferguson's ability to get up and scramble in those exchanges and get back to his feet. Because that, to me, is where the key is. It's like Khabib wants to stand there and prove a point and trade with Tony Ferguson. He's going to lose. And I think that if Tony Ferguson really wants to go play the game of Khabib to prove a point, that could end very, very badly for him, right? But where's Khabib when he's on his back? When's the last time we've seen Khabib on his back? That's another component to watch out for. That's why this fight is just so crazy to think about all the possibilities. And we're a couple weeks away. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I'm trying to reserve my excitement just in case I have to be disappointed for the 6th time or 7th time, whatever it is. But this is the fight to make. I hope Conor McGregor is cage side, because I just think it's the fight. This is the fight of the year. Yeah. This has to be the fight of the year. I'm trying to think of another fight. Unless John Jones and Brock Lesnar happens. Even then, I'm still not. I don't care as much. Daniel Cormier versus Stipe might be the only other fight that has this much excitement for me. But to me, this is your fight of 2018. It has to be.
It has to be, dude. I've been excited. I'm always excited to watch both those guys fight. I'm excited to watch Khabib continue his unbeaten streak. And I'm excited to watch Tony Ferguson, dude. That guy's a killer. He's no slouch. Like, I have nothing against Tony Ferguson. I think he's an ultimate fighter. I think the guy is talented everywhere. I just think that he's going to get shut down. That's my pick. You want to make a bet on air, man?
What do you want to bet on it?
Well, I mean, we always bet lunch, and that's always a safe bet. Like, I always love Chipotle.
$25 in Chipotle gift card.
Oh, 20. All right, let's do it. 25, all right?
All right, I'm going Tony Ferguson.
Are we just doing one fight only?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
One fight.
Let's be real. This is the one we all care about.
One fight, $25. Heck yeah, man. Let's do it. All right, man. So our bet is set. If the Khabib and Ferguson fight goes to the fight, we're gonna go for that. But if not, we'll go with the follow up or the runner-up Thug Rose versus Joanna. So you're sticking with Thug Rose, eh?
That's my girl.
All right, man. So
That's
we'll do
my
that $25 Chipotle bet. Well, let's do it, man.
You heard it here first.
All right, man. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I'm trying to currently get you set up on a podcast with my boy Anthony Hernandez, who's the current LFA middleweight champion, coming off a recent victory, a 5-round war where he just dominated. I'm also campaigning for a super fight with this guy in a grappling match. We're trying to do it in a cage atmosphere with all the proceeds going to charity. So I'm going to be trolling him online. So for all my listeners, I'll be reaching out for support. We're trying to get this campaign. We're trying to get this going. It is all in friendly nature, but I'm going to be talking mad shit to him once we get it finalized. I'll be training my ass off. He's a beast. He's one of my good friends. He's a killer in the cage. I would never fight this man with my fist, but I feel pretty confident in my ability to take him out in a grappling match. And so we've been going back and forth in a war of words for quite some time. So we'll try to get him on the podcast, and you can get his thoughts on how he's going to handle his defeat. And, we'll go from there. So that's what's up on the docket.
Heck yeah, man, dude. Set me up with him. That'd be great, man.
Yeah, dude. I think you'll really enjoy it.
All right, you guys. This has been another episode of The Weekly Hangover. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.